we are in a bull market, but not in an indefinite bull market. The market is just not really ready for the pace of what's happening. In this era, the stock market is going to be more volatile. We're entering a whole new world, literally a whole new world. So anything that you thought is not on the table, not politically correct, not this, not that, it's over. Those rules are over. Those thinking processes are over.
Are we about to see a major paradigm shift for commodities, especially energy, now that President of Venezuela, Maduro, was captured by the Trump administration? We'll find out what's next with Lior Gantz, founder of Wealth Research Group, a free financial newsletter. Welcome back to the show, Lior. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Take a look at this story. Venezuela will ship sanctioned oil to the U.S. indefinitely, sources say. President Donald Trump said Venezuela will turn over 30 million to 50 million barrels of sanctioned oil, which will be sold at market prices. But those 50 million barrels are only the first tranche in shipments, and they will continue indefinitely. That money will be controlled by me as President of the United States of America to ensure it is used to benefit the people of Venezuela and the United States. Now, a couple of things are about to happen. One, if the U.S. receives a lot more oil by the order of 50 million barrels regularly, I don't know exactly like what the interval would be, but that would basically make, first of all, oil a lot cheaper for the U.S., but also cripple China, which is so far the largest importer in the world of Venezuelan oil. And of course, Russia depends on this as well, but to a lesser extent. But I'll let you comment on what I've just read and your immediate reaction to what's going on right now.
The U.S. administration is taking back control of American sovereignty within the borders of the United States and in the Western Hemisphere. Effectively, this is a process that started in 2008, and the American people already had a chance in 2008 to elect a Trump-like president, a president that wants to basically make America great again after very failed years, both with the dot-com bubble bursting, and then you had a subprime mortgage crisis that resulted in the preceding years, and you had failed wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. So they had a chance to say, okay, we've gone astray. We did, as a country, many mistakes. We need a president that effectively has the mandate to make America great again. They chose to go in a whole different route. And for the next 8 years, they went that route. When they chose a president that wants to assert sovereignty again and believes that America is a special nation, he had a lot of problems executing his vision because of the opposition. The opposition is not just China, Russia, and other countries. The opposition is also within his own country from politicians that are much more subscribed to the idea of globalism. Just like in Europe, they're subscribed to that idea of globalism. And I think that changed with this administration. This administration had a very wide mandate to pursue the ideas that are in the new world order. And the new world order, I call it the capable nations world order. And in that order, countries that are strong, capable, and believe that their system is superior try to assert their benefits on other countries where this is not the case. Venezuela, it was a dictatorship where Chinese loans were funding the government, as well as oil purchases from Cuba. From those funds, the Maduro regime bought Russian weapons that was supplied on the American Western Hemisphere, trained by military personnel from Iran and Iranian proxies, and obviously not only the threat to the United States with drugs and terrorism, but the threat that Venezuela will invade neighboring Guyana, and destabilize Latin America and allow China and Russia to do the same thing in other regions of Latin America and Central America was becoming a real threat. All of that was done away with one fell swoop. One operation that changes not only that, but many other things. This was black and white in the National Security Strategy, a 33-page report by the Trump administration saying this is coming. We are reasserting the Monroe Doctrine, the James Monroe Doctrine, but in the Don Roe version of it. And the idea is that in the Western Hemisphere, there's only one boss, and that is the United States of America. And it's not toppling over regimes. It's not putting puppet presidents instead. It's not nation building. It's not any of that. What it is doing is making sure that its neighbors are behaving. And wherever there's a neighbor that doesn't behave, what the Trump administration really seeks to do is to show the people of that country that if they allow American influence in that country, it will be to their benefit. And what you're seeing with that headline is effectively part of that doctrine. That, hey, if you allow us to come in there, we will make sure that you benefit much more. Because, David, one thing that's happening under Maduro and before that Chavez is that oil riches do not get to the people. And because it's such a failed system, only 6 to 7% of that oil is even produced. Most of it doesn't get produced because they don't have any operators that have modernized that system in 30, 40 years.
Okay.
So you're seeing a real failed system.
Well, what do you think is going to happen to the oil price in the U.S.?
I think the oil price initially might still come down, but Trump is a common sense person, and in the price that it's at right now, it is very low already. And a lot of the American producers are already telling Trump that this is where they start to break even. So I think that the price is not going a lot lower. It's probably going lower in the near term just because of market dynamics. But over the long term, I think it's pretty much bottomed.
And that's the thing. Yes, Trump wants oil to go a lot lower so inflation could be a lot more under control, should we say. But at the same time, American oil industries, the industry at large and oil companies are not going to be happy about this. If, let's say, the entire market gets flooded and the spot price goes down dramatically. And these are the companies backing Trump and supporting this. So
It's true,
there
David,
has to be an equilibrium.
Exactly. So it's true. And that's why effectively your question should be, should we trust that the Trump administration would know how to handle this? Effectively, in the big picture, what has just happened is now the U.S. controls the biggest reserves of oil in the world. As you said, China was buying 60 to 90% of unsanctioned, sanctioned Venezuelan oil. And that means that there's a new framework as to how it will get sold. Trump wants to sell that oil to China. He wants to, and he will. He will create a new business plan with China. What he wants to do is to make sure that China understands that in the Western Hemisphere, there is no Chinese influence anymore. This is not the only country that's going to go through this sort of experiment and experience. Not in all countries will the dictator get arrested and brought to justice in the United States and go to trial. But the idea is clear. If China wants to invade Taiwan and build AI centers and run their own economy, then they need to look elsewhere for oil. And when they start to look elsewhere for oil and create new deals and new agreements, the United States will also be there to negotiate with that country and with that supplier. And the idea is that supplier will choose whichever country is better for him. And that's really the story that Trump is trying to bring to the forefront, that if you allow us to control that flow of oil, the Venezuelan people will enjoy this much better. They will choose a president that allows that system to flourish, and organically they will become better neighbors of the United States.
Before we continue with the video, let's talk about today's sponsor, monetary metals. You already know why people hold gold, because it's real money. But what if your gold could do more than just sit in a vault? Well, that's where monetary metals comes in. They offer a way for you to earn a yield on your gold paid in physical gold. Through their leasing marketplace, you can earn up to 4% yield per year in gold. Instead of paying storage fees, your gold works for you. And because that yield is paid in gold, not cash, your stack grows no matter what the dollar does. Thousands of clients already earn a monthly yield in gold through monetary metals, so don't just hold it, put it to work. Go to monetary-metals.com/Lynn, link down below, or scan the QR code here to learn more and start earning real gold on your gold today.
Apparently, during the course of Maduro's administration, especially in the early days, Venezuela transported gold worth almost 4.14 billion Swiss francs to Switzerland, and 113 metric tons of gold. There were no gold exports from Venezuela to Switzerland from 2017. Maduro was seized on January 3rd. On Monday, Switzerland ordered the freezing of assets held in the country by Maduro and 36 associates, but did not give any information on possible value or source of such funds. The point is, they are very rich in precious metals, especially gold, among other commodities as well. Oil, precious metals. What will happen to the precious metals landscape after the seizing of Venezuelan assets by the U.S.? Anything will change, you think, Lior?
I don't think that will really impact the price on a global scale. I think that in general, you have two very important themes that are happening in the world. Silver and gold separately. Let's unpack. Silver has been demonetized by governments, and therefore one of the biggest buyers of it in the last 40 years has gone away. There's no central banks or governments buying silver. The price of it became so cheap that that slowly mines start to make it the byproduct and not the primary metal coming out of the ground. Then, because the price was cheap and abundant with the supply of it after the fall of the Soviet Union, it became so cheap and so abundant that industrial uses started to be discovered for it, because it's the best conductor of electricity in the world. So you had a demonetized precious metal becoming a very diversified and very popular industrial metal, and because of that, what you're seeing right now is that industrial companies are saying, okay, if China can restrict exports, and if China can now call and threaten or pressure or negotiate with other nations to also do that and restrict other imports to the West, be it of silver or silver mines, or not allow silver companies from the West to enter their country and buy silver assets, then the price just had a re-rating of a major risk premium to it. And that's what you're seeing with silver. It's really special because it's 50% industrial, and therefore industrial companies are really bidding up the price. The real game changer will come if one government starts to remonetize it and introduce it to their vaults. That will really send its price a lot higher, because then it will reassert the premium that it has as a precious metal. Right now, it's getting a risk premium as an industrial metal. At some point, obviously, as the price goes higher, CFOs of companies that use silver will start to look at other ways of sourcing conductor metals, and the price will start to stabilize. But we're in a very good bull market right now. Gold, different story. Gold is 100% almost a precious metal. And what we're doing right now is we are coming out of the post-Soviet Union world of hyper-globalization, of non-friction between governments, almost no relevance to sovereign borders. And that world is done. And in the capable nations world, the US dollar cannot be this currency that circulates between countries, because you have about a fourth or a quarter of the world's countries under some sort of a sanctions from the United States. Therefore, the use of the US dollar is coming down. The US dollar is becoming much more of a national currency than an international currency. You will see that coming to fruition big time with the new Fed chair, who will be much more in unison with the Treasury, and what the Treasury will think is important will also play out in Fed policy. In other words, the ruse or the hoax that the Fed is this managerial elite banking class of people that are untouched by politics, and they know better than the Treasury and the American people and everything else, and they need to be independent. That idea is over, and you will see unity. You will see cooperation between the Fed and the Treasury, and I think you will see that the U.S. dollar works for, first of all, for the American people and not for global commerce. So the US dollar can fluctuate in interest rates when other countries are doing the opposite. You probably saw, David, a few days ago where Trump introduced favored nations to drug prices, meaning that he scanned the globe, and wherever a drug price was lower than the United States, the drug companies promised to lower and match that price to the US, and he negotiated with other countries where they would raise their prices to make sure that the pharma company will be made whole. I think that same logic applies to interest rates in his mind. He's saying we are the number one economy, the biggest economy, the most robust and sophisticated. We have the best military, etc., etc. We should pay, when we finance our debt, the lowest interest rates. And therefore, I think a bombshell that's coming later this year is the new Fed chair is going to announce that is his strategy. His strategy is to come down hard on interest rates fast, and that will be a real shock. He will say it in advance many times, but the market will not believe it. Just like the market did not believe Liberation Day, even though Trump said a million times, April 2nd is Liberation Day, I'm going to introduce tariffs, Everybody could have started to forecast. Wall Street analysts could have called the White House, could have called the Treasury. Everything could have done in advance. Yet, on April 2nd, the market just went down so hard, like in COVID, because they couldn't believe that he will actually do it. So I think the big shock of this year will be the new Fed chair and how he rethinks the idea of interest rates and of Fed independence. So when you talk about gold, silver, a little bit different between them, but both of them in a bull market that I think will continue this year.
So you're saying that the Fed will surprise on the more dovish side. Okay, what will be the impact on markets then if no one's pricing that in right now?
First of all, shock. So I think 2026 will be a lot like 2025, where you have a lot of all-time highs, but in the middle, three major like shock events that can happen. And that is very important to keep in mind, David. Obama effectively, and Biden, and it's not that I'm picking on Democrats or anything like that. And it's the same in Europe and other places. After 2008, the role of duly elective governments faded. The role of central banks, of global organizations, the World Economic Forum, etc., became more important than governments. It's shifting back to governments. Government policy can do a lot more than the central banks. The central banks can take interest rates up and down. They can do QE or not. And obviously, once they got all that power, they lowered rates to zero, which if they had any government oversight, they would not be able to do that. Or a lot of pushback from governments. We are now getting that back. Governments will matter a lot. Tax policy, fiscal policy, moratoriums on selling your real estate, like no capital gains tax if you sell your real estate in the next year, creating all these incentives, all these tax-free zones. The idea is to get back to growing through smart government with the private sector. And I think that the market is just not really ready for the pace of what's happening. And that's why I think that when this will start to get talked about, they will think that it's going to be a slow process. I think it will be an impactful process. And therefore, you will see this year a lot of these mini corrections and maybe one big one, just like you saw in 2025. And that's important to keep in mind. That in this era, the stock market is going to be more volatile. If you have a president that is willing to call the heads of Thailand and Cambodia every time they fire a few shots and tell them you are going on a 100% tariffs until you stop, it's a different type of world. When he can do 150% tariffs on China, and just decouple the two nations, until they come to the table, that is a very different type of world that we live in. And I think when you were able to, at the middle of the night, just use the most sophisticated military equipment, shut down the electricity in a country, black it out, take its president and send him to the United States, that is something you just don't see. So you need to calculate that in. This is volatile for the stock market, and it will continue to be volatile. So I think that's how it affects markets. It affects markets in a lot of volatility.
Take a look at my screen. I'm going to show you the copper price. So copper did peak a couple days ago, new all-time highs, and similar story could be made with silver. But ever since the Venezuela development, which was recently, well, actually, Maduro was seized on the 3rd of January, which is here. Copper spiked, and then now it's rolling over. Same thing with silver. We're seeing silver reach $83 just yesterday, rolling over today. And both metals going down. I think today there's a major sell-off in gold as well, down 1%, Bitcoin's down 2%. And so it's not just exclusive to silver and copper. My point is right now, how do we know as investors whether or not these metals have already peaked? Any signs we can look for?
Peak for the year, you mean?
Peak forever.
Oh,
I mean, just peak for...
Yeah, if it's the end of the bull market.
Should we sell? Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, last time I was on your show, you asked the same question. I said, don't sell. I think the same. Yes, I think the same holds true today, because there's basically no end to in sight to the idea of rebuilding the entire supply chain in the world. That's one thing. So just every country is now thinking, what do I have to offer other countries in terms of resources and in terms of knowledge and data and everything else? Because I will want something from them as well. We are rebuilding all of the global agreements. Okay? That's really important, because it means that if a country has resources and reserves, they will tell the purchaser, well, can you bring your soldiers to train us on drone technology? Can we buy drone technology from you? Can you pick up the phone and help us buy military equipment for this from this country? Everything is getting renegotiated, and therefore you hold your cards close to your chest. That is a bull market for commodities. Secondly, and this is the big one, and this is what I think will continue to drive copper prices higher, silver prices higher, and other commodities. We are now rebuilding the United States of America. Effectively, most of the roads, bridges, infrastructure, airports, etc. If you fly now to China or to the Emirates and you see where they live in the future compared to you in North America, it's insane. So all of this legacy infrastructure from the 60s and 70s will need to be rebuilt for the new era. And that is a lot of consumption of minerals. We have not seen that in the West. And then you couple that with supply. Supply came from the disintegration of the Soviet Union. You had a petrol station with abundant resources, giving it to the entire world. That's over. And thirdly, you have a newcomer. You don't just have China and the United States. Now you have India. It's a giant country with big aspirations that is looking to industrialize. These three factors tell you that commodities are going to continue to go higher. Obviously, what we saw with silver is a re-rating. So you should not expect another move like that. That is a one-time re-rating of the restrictions. But I think that you should expect silver to continue to do very well. Same with gold, copper. I mean, we already have 50% tariffs of copper. So you already know this is very important for the Trump administration and for other countries as well. There is no golden era without copper wiring. And so, yes, I think all of this is very important. On the flip side, let me play devil advocate for a second. You had about 15 years now where U.S. administrations favored a snail running on his little trail in the woods over national security. So if somebody was about to build a mine over a forest, they would tell him to put cameras for a year to look at deers and decide whether or not these deers would be impacted negatively if you build a giant copper mine there. I think that era is over, and therefore supply will come online, but it will take years. So we are in a bull market, but not in an indefinite bull market. We're definitely this cycle is gonna peak. There will be supply and demand will meet at some point, et cetera, et cetera. It's no different than anything else. It's just the pace of it is extraordinary.
Which jurisdiction around the world do you think has the most promising mining potential in terms of growth? I
would say countries that are smart in the Western Hemisphere have insane potential because the U.S. will make them rich. So that's one thing. I think that countries in Africa that allow the entrance of either the U.S. or countries that are responsible within the African continent that will choose to become more industrialized, bring the rule of law into their country, bring stable currencies, etc. They will learn from the West. They will bring people from the West to teach them how to change their systems. They have big potential. There's 54 African nations, very young demographics. The sky's the limit for the African continent. So that's secondly. And I think effectively, if Europe doesn't change, Europe is going to be the biggest decliner of the 21st century. That continent is just, I don't know, like there's nothing I can say that that's positive right now about Western Europe. I do think that if Trump ends up buying Greenland, then that also has insane potential.
Is he actually serious? I mean, Stephen Miller of the Homeland Security Department, he said the U.S. has the right to take Greenland. Trump did say he's not going to use military force. This was months back when people thought they were joking. The Danish government was literally laughing when he made this announcement first time. I don't think they're laughing now. I think the Europeans are taking this a little bit more seriously, especially after what happened in Venezuela. But do you think he's serious about this?
Yes, it will happen.
Okay, full stop.
First of all, the biggest thing to understand about Trump is game theory. Is whatever he says happens. That is his entire worldview is based on whatever he says will happen. He's going to make it happen. There is no promises just for the promises. It's promises made, promises kept. That is literally the slogan. Secondly, Greenland has nothing to do with Europe. If you look at the modern history of Greenland, it was already being negotiated with the United States back in the 1800s. They already wanted it, the US did, and they were very close to buying it for very foolish reasons. They did not. Denmark cannot secure Greenland. In other words, if the Danish government continues to think that Greenland will be theirs if Trump doesn't pursue this, then they simply are very naive about the fact that the Russian submarines are already roaming those waters. Chinese bases are already looking to be built there. If it's not the U.S., it's China and Russia. So you tell me what you prefer as an American or as a Canadian or as a person that lives in the free world. It's either that or that. So it's coming. So it is coming. And the model is that the whatever 100,000 people that live there or 45,000 people, whatever, will benefit from this. Will not be a we're coming in to wreck things up and colonialize the region. Not at all.
Sure. This is my final question, and this sparks a debate as to whether or not we are in a renewed age of imperialism, especially in the West. And this may spark interest from other countries, other major powers to do the same. If the US is going to take Greenland, well, Russia already tried to take Ukraine. What's stopping, China and Russia from trying to take other things, right?
Nothing. And that is exactly the point. Nothing stopped them before, and nothing stops them now.
Well, the US stops them. No?
Exactly.
The Europeans stop them.
Okay. Yes. We're saying the same thing.
Okay.
Nothing stops any one of these countries from doing anything. They're bigger than their neighbors, and it's basically their own decision whether or not to do it, and then it's a matter of execution. Russia thought that they would take Ukraine in 3 days. It's been 4 years, right? So it's a matter of decision and execution. What changes is how the U.S. deals with these countries. That is the only opposing force to the continued spread of other ideas in the world. There is one country in human history that has defeated the British Empire by military means, have asserted their own independence, created a Bill of Rights and Declaration of Independence and a constitution for their citizens, and for 250 years have built a country based on that, built the biggest military, the biggest economy in the world. Other competing ideas, fascism, communism, you have the CCP with this idea of top-down government, quasi-communism, quasi-something else. World government, which you saw in the last 30 years, coming from Brussels and these think tanks in the West, with Soros and Schwab, etc. All these ideas are basically antagonizing ideas to the idea that men are born free. They have a constitution that protects them, and they have a government that works for them. That is the idea that's special to the United States. And what Trump is saying is, if we allow these other countries to continue, and these other ideas to continue infiltrating us, both from academia and deep state from within and from the outside, then we will lose our preeminence. And that's it. And what he's saying, and that is really what you can agree with or not, is that we are special. Our way of life is special. Our doctrine is special. And therefore, we should be able to assert this power because we're doing it for the better of the world. If we had failing or idiots to run our country, we use that power wrong. And that's why sometimes we are hated, we are despised. Sometimes our own people distrust us, and distrust in government is the biggest in the West right now that it's ever been. But if we do it right and we execute it right, there is no difference between a good corporation and a good government. They are working on the behalf of their clients, customers, citizens, etc. So that is the truth. Nothing is stopping anybody from doing anything, especially in the world that we currently live in. And I think that 2026 is going to be the wildest year you've ever seen in your lifetime, and perhaps in the last 150 years. It is going to be insane. And that's important to understand. We are literally breaking apart what we've seen in the last 30 years and in the last 80 years with the Bretton Woods system. And we're entering a whole new world, literally a whole new world. So anything that you thought is not on the table, not politically correct, not this, not that, it's over. Those rules are over. Those thinking processes are over. We are doing what makes sense. And in the case of the United States, it's what makes sense for America first. So think in those lines. And you will start to really understand that if he's saying Greenland is coming, it's coming.
Let's see what happens. Thank you for your time today, Lior. We'll keep tabs on this development. Have you on next time. Where can we follow you in the meantime?
wealthresearchgroup.com is the website. If you go on the homepage, you can literally subscribe to our newsletter for free. Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, on the dot, 3 newsletters a week. What you just heard here, even if you disagreed with 99% of it, if you liked it, if you loved it, That's what's coming on the newsletter. It's obviously in 5-minute bites, not in interview format. I put together 3 special reports for your interview, for your viewers exclusively, that you can download. One is my outlook for silver for 2026, wealthresearchgroup.com/2026 silver. 2, about the divergence that's coming. That's going to shock you as well, David, between the EU and the United States. And a lot more is coming on that front. wealthresearchgroup.com/EU. And the third one I think will be interested certainly for Americans, is about the Golden Dome. That is going to be amazing. It's going to be one of the biggest projects in human history. Elon's going to come back for this and a lot of other things. It's going to help Canada as well. Maybe that'll interest you as well. It's at wealthresearchgroup.com/dome. And I think, again, it's coming. Just like Greenland. It's not a promise, it's coming.
Thanks very much. That was Lior Gantz, founder of Wealth Research Group. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow Lior. Links down below. We'll see you next time.